Okay, so all the other TechLabs people who are in the meeting as well, I put you as co-host. Please just admit everybody who's coming, and let's get started. So what are we covering tonight? This is going to be a more or less 45 minutes session maximum, I would say, where we're going to cover a lot of topics. One of them is about TechLabs and TechLabs Berlin, what it is all about, who we are, and what do we want to achieve. Then we're going to talk about the program, and also all the tracks that we offer in a lot of details, and then some details on how to apply. And last, we are going to answer some of the questions that you submitted, plus we're going to open for questions that you might have. All right, so let's get started. So about us, what is TechLabs Berlin, or in general, what is TechLabs? So TechLabs is an organization that has a mission, and its mission, as we stated in our little notebook, is to provide people with a platform that can enable them to acquire state-of-the-art tech skills in order to solve the problems of our time, entrepreneurially and digitally. And this mission comes from wanting to make the world a better place, basically. So if you've been following tech media these past months, it's not really hard to be scared about what we call evil tech. So Kaseya, SolarWinds, or Colonial Pipeline, DarkSide, Cambridge Analytica, and also mass surveillance, and all of these things kind of, some of the names that you might have heard in the past months that you might associate with the dark side of tech. But of course, in TechLabs, we want to give people a bit of the power to use tech for good. And there are lots of examples out there of tech being used for good purposes, be it by helping our climate crisis, or by tackling poverty problems, or what is super in vogue nowadays, healthcare, and in general, just to aid our society in general. So that's kind of the goal that we want to achieve by following a dream. So we have this dream that we want a world with no digital illiterates. It's a world full of technically savvy people who face the challenges of our time with a digital entrepreneurial mindset. So that's kind of the whole idea from what TechLabs was formed. So TechLabs, basically we are here in Berlin. So we are one of the locations of TechLabs, but TechLabs is a very big organization. It's a global organization. We are now in many locations around the world. It started, I think the initial location was Münster in Germany, but it quickly exploded because so many people are interested in learning tech. And we have now 21 locations in total. Some of them are still in progress. It's still kind of starting the planning, but lots of them are already going on for a while. And 21 locations. This is actually a question. We have our applications, they open tomorrow, and we have kind of like a tricky question because we want people to watch this session before they apply. So whenever you see the question, how many locations we have in TechLabs, just answer 21. That's the correct answer, just so you know, that's kind of the secret question. But anyway, so we also have, of course, the global TechLabs, which takes care more or less of the whole organizational vision of TechLabs. And we have Code at Home program as well, which is an online only program that you can take from anywhere in the world. But all of these locations together with Berlin compose TechLabs. We are over 300 volunteers working on this project. TechLabs Berlin. So TechLabs Berlin started back in 2019. We started on the summer term, and then we had the winter term 2021. That's when I actually joined TechLabs Berlin. So this is one of our first meetings for the summer term. Wait, I'm a bit confused, but okay. So 3 terms ago, this was our first. In times of Corona, that was one of our only offline meetings that we had. So you see, the team was quite small, and we couldn't meet everybody. So this was the beginning. Recently, we had our first journey meeting. So TechLabs Berlin, as well as other locations of TechLabs, we're organized in different departments, let's say. So we have the journey team, which is the team that has direct connection with all the students that develop the semester, and they have the track leads, etc. So we are this group of people. So this was a screenshot from our first journey meeting, I think 2 weeks ago, to start planning the new semester. But of course, additional to the journey team, we have marketing, administration, IT, HR, finance and legal, partnerships. So we have different teams. So we are about between 30 and 40 volunteers in Berlin who are all giving their time to move the mission of TechLabs forward. And these are just some of the people you're going to see throughout the semester. So TechLabs, it offers people access to one of the best technology-focused continuing education programs in Germany. And we already had hundreds of technology enthusiasts that already have been selected and completed our blending, what we call a blending learning program. And we now are on our 4th semester in Berlin. So how does it work? What composes our digital, what we call a digital shaper program? So we have one aspect of it is the local community. So we have talks, hackathons, we have social events, workshops, Slack community. So there is a whole set of elements that contribute to create this sort of local community among the students, which we call internally techies. Additional to that, we have online learning. Online learning that is in TechLabs is online courses. It's a self-paced program, so you study on your own by following the program, and you have your individual learning path. So as soon as you start the program, it's going to have some sort of personalization of your learning track according to what you already know, and then you start your learning track and you study on your own time at home. Then we have, so there is a part which is the learning, and then we have a part which is the doing, which is the project work. And that's when you're going to implement your own project idea in groups. And you're going to be supported not only by the TechLabs staff, the track leads, and all of the other people, as well as experienced mentors that we invite from industry, people who are actually working in the field, who are going to come in and help you develop your project. So all of these three elements, they compose what we call the TechLabs Digital Shaper program. And as you probably already know, we offer 4 tracks. They are all free. We have data science, where we do an exploration of raw data in order to gain useful insights with the help of tools such as machine learning algorithms. That's one of the programs we have. AI, which goes hand in hand with data science, and usually, and also we also require some extra experience to join AI. Usually, people who early study data science, they actually follow on with AI. Where we studied several things, deep neural networks or reinforcement learning system. And this is all about solving large and complex problems. So we have web development, where we develop prototype websites and applications. And last but not least, user experience design, UX design, where we work with the conception of design tailored to customer needs. So all of this together, they come together later in the project phase. So each one, you're actually going to learn each one of the tracks separately. So you're going to learn the tracks separately, but then in the end, during the project phase, all the tracks will come together to develop the projects. All right, so throughout the whole semester, we have several types of events that we try to implement for the techies. So we have lightning talks, where we invite people from the industry or people who actually have something that we think that might be of value for the techies. They come and give a little talk, and where you can have question and answers and a little conversation with them. We have workshops. We have not only a big workshop weekend where we present lots of little workshops for you, but also throughout the semester, we try to implement some workshops that you might need not only in the academic phase as well as in the project phase. And we also have socials. Very important, I think, in TechLabs is the whole community aspect to it, where you actually get to know other people, and you get to connect with other people from your field and from other fields, also the TechLabs management team, so that people actually get to start creating a network. And all of this, TechLabs is originally an offline program. So back when it started in Münster, all the events were offline. However, here in Berlin, since the first semester that it started, the plan was to start it offline, but because COVID happened, we only did offline. So until the last semester, all of our program was online. And that means that we only had online events, and we couldn't do offline events. This semester, we're trying to do a little bit different, so it's going to be a combination. So what we have is online events. Of course, I think most of the program is still going to be online. And those online events are usually going to happen on Tuesdays at 7:30. Not every Tuesday, is most Tuesdays, so you should try to keep the Tuesdays free. Of course, at the beginning of the semester, you're going to receive a full calendar. You're going to have all the events already planned in terms of timing. These are going to be very frequent. The Tuesdays online events is all going to be about info events from the program. Like we have project info session, we have the project pitch session, we have the kickoff events. We're going to have invited speakers as well, and discussion panels, presentations, and many other types of events. And these are going to be mostly held online. So they're usually between half an hour and 45 minutes, followed by questions and sometimes social events after that. Participation of these events for the participants of the program is mandatory. So we expect you to participate in as many events as possible. And of course, because you're already part of the program, you won't need to register. Some events, 1 or 2 events throughout the semester we do as public. So we invite other locations, we invite the public as well, but most of the events, they're closed for the participants of the semester. Then we are this semester for the first time in Berlin trying to implement offline events. So the idea here is to have events on Saturdays at 2 o'clock. The format is still up for, we're still planning, we're still figuring out which events are gonna go on Saturdays. They're gonna be very sporadic, so do not expect events every Saturday, but every once in a while, we are gonna try to implement an offline event on Saturdays. They're gonna be workshops. Workshops are, we realize that online workshops, they work, but it would be much more interesting if we were offline in the same environment. So we are gonna try to implement workshop events offline. Socials, for example, could be a very interesting event to do it offline, special presentations, etc. So team meetings, for example, when you're working the projects, would be very interesting to do them offline as well. Registration for these events will be required, of course, because we need to control the amount of participants, and we are going to follow the 2G system. As you probably know, in Germany, we have 3G, 2G. So the 2G systems means that we only allow participations of people who either recently recovered from COVID-19 or who are vaccinated. As you probably have in every single restaurant or cafe that you go, is the same system. So we are still planning the events. We have a very provisionary calendar that we're going to show you later, but all the details, of course, you get it as soon as you start the program. All right, so let's talk a little bit about TechLabs semester. I think Anna is going to join me now to go through this content. Anna?
Yes, exactly. I'm here.
Right, go ahead.
Cool. So, okay, hi everyone from me, I'm Anna, and Daniel already said I'm like the second part of the lead of the semester, and I'm in Berlin already since the beginning, so this will be my 4th semester, and you'll see my face a lot during the semester for sure. So how everything looks like, how the semester is structured. So the first week, actually, it's kind of like, yeah, kickoff week. What's happening here is like, again, we have a welcome event where we again present the program and give you some like tips, what's happening now, how to start. There's like onboarding going on, like registrations and so on. And you are just basically getting to know everything and each other and so on. This first week, the academy phase starts as well. So Daniel mentioned we have 2 phases, academy and project. All of them, like both of them, are 8 weeks long. So first 8 weeks is academy phase, and this is where you are actually going through your online course. It's like a self-learning and self-paced. You're following the online materials. We offer you, of course, like continuous support. We offer you some like check marks so that you know that you are on the right track and the right pace. And there are, of course, regular weekly meetings. We already like either some speakers or workshops and so on. And this is like everything that's happening in the first 8 weeks. So it starts maybe a bit slower, but it's very fast. It gets it picks up the pace, and it gets kind of interesting. And then, of course, the second part is the project phase, which is maybe even a bit more intense. Now, like suddenly you're paired with another student in like a team, which is from, let's say, 5 to 10 people in a team from different tracks, and together you're actually like working on a project that somebody came up with. Like the ideas for the project actually are coming from the students. And then, of course, you will choose, each student is choosing like which project they want to work on, and we pair then the teams together to do this. Yeah, and actually, like during this whole project phase, you actually have a mentor. So each team has a mentor, 1 or 2, that is there to help you navigate, and kind of has a role of like of a team lead or like a team manager. And anyway, in the end, if you successfully finish the academy phase, which means that you actually successfully finished your learning track, like 100% of the learning track, and if you successfully finish the project phase, we, of course, like before the project, we give you actually the requirements that you need to follow up to finish this successfully. So both of those together then means that you actually finish the whole semester, the whole course successfully, and you will get the Digital Shaper certificate. This, of course, doesn't need to be the end, because whoever gets the certificate automatically becomes part of our alumni. And but you also have a choice to either like join again for another track. So for example, if you are a data scientist, maybe you want to continue with artificial intelligence, or maybe you are a UX who wants to like then continue with the web development and so on. And of course, we are always open to actually for you to join our management team, to become volunteer, because like the best volunteers are actually coming from the former techies, because you already know how it was to be a student and what can be improved and what can we do better. Cool. Okay, so maybe a bit more in the details. So what's happening? Of course, today there is the info session, and already tomorrow the application phase is opening. So each of these little boxes is like 1 week. So application phase is 2 weeks long, until 26th midnight. So on the 27th, we will take 1 week actually to select, to go through all the applications and make our final selections. So we usually get around 300, 400 applications. And this semester, we will probably take in around 120 students, divided on 4 tracks, right? The results will be sent out on 3rd of October. We will send an email. Always check your spam. Like last semester, a lot of these automatic MailChimp emails ended up in spam. So keep that in mind. But yes, on 3rd, there will be either acceptance or rejection email coming your way. And then actually already next day, on Monday, the academy phase is starting. But the kickoff, like the welcome event, will be on Tuesday, of course, so that you have some time to register. There will be like in the acceptance email, there will be a registration form. You will get like steps you need to do, right, to prepare. And then the kickoff event, where we again like help you out with those steps if you still didn't finish them. But actually like the 5th, by the end, like after this welcome event, you will have to like register. If you don't register by then of course you will not continue with the program. So academic phase, it is again 8 weeks long. There is the first 2 weeks of the academy phase, actually, something we call a hatching phase. This is also a phase where we have a requirement for everyone to finish 10 hours of their learning track. And this is very useful for us and for you, because it actually shows us if you can follow the program, like if you actually can follow time commitment and you, like usually what we kind of require is at least 10 hours in 1 week that you should have for a program. But since everything is new, you just started, we're like, okay, 10 hours in 2 weeks, and this will show us if you have the time commitment and you have like the capacity to actually follow what's going on. But this is then the other way also like good for you, because then also you know if you can actually dedicate this time and if you should continue with the program or not. Okay, so so after the academy phase is again the project phase, starts this time on 29th of November, 8 weeks long, workshops, weekends, and a lot of different events are happening. There will be a winter break, so from 20th to 2nd of January, like 2 weeks long winter break. Before we go to winter break, we will have like a little Christmas party, Christmas gathering, so we can all like kind of like farewell for the winter break. And then of course, when we come back in January, we'll have another like social events to kind of again put ourselves in the learning mode. What we did last semester for the first time was actually this midterm presentations. That was kind of very useful.
The date is wrong. Sorry, it's 11th of January, the midterms.
Okay, midterms, it's in January. So anyway, we did it last semester for the first time, and we actually was a very, very good thing. So we decided to do it again. What it actually means that in the middle of the project phase, each team will present how far did they get. Like they will kind of show what they did with their project so far. And this is actually really amazing, because then each team sees where the other team is, what's happening, like which problems they're facing, what were their successes, and really how far they are in completing the actual prototype. And this was quite amazing, because of course, like last semester, a lot of teams then saw that, okay, whichever problems we are facing, actually the other teams are facing as well. Like we're not alone in this. It's kind of like very common problems everybody has. But it also gave then additional motivation for everyone to kind of finish and to this final few weeks. And of course, like then the final event, the final presentations are then in February. This is actually on the Thursday. It's like a public event, so we always invite also other locations and public to join and to see your presentations. And usually like then you have a few more days after that to submit everything, because besides the presentation, there are also some other requirements that you need to actually have for to finish the semester. Yes, so that's how it looks in short. And I mean, just repeat one more time. So how do you get the certificate? It's really if you finish successfully your learning track and also the project. So 100% of the learning track and successfully finish the requirements for the project. And I guess now actually we'll just show you a bit of like what kind of projects we had last semester.
Yeah, so just some examples. I think we had in total, I think 13 projects last semester. They were all very successful and very exciting. So just gonna go through 3 or 4 of them and then show you. Then you can also watch the final presentation on YouTube. So one of them was this one called Terravis, where they actually use historical data about global warming, about temperature rising in different all over the world to create a really interesting visualization tool. And they had like a prototype working, which was really, really beautiful and was animated and was based on a map. So they had all of this put together. I think this was one of our smallest teams. They were what, 5 people probably, and they did an amazing job. Another one was this one called What Street Art. There should be a video playing. Yeah. So What Street Art was an app which used not only location-based technology as well as image recognition technology that allows you to walk through the city, take pictures of street art and have the street arts recognized, and so you can see more information and collect street art as you walk through the city. As you can see here, I just put one of the examples of a team. It's really mixed. So we had DS, UX, web design, and AI all together within a team. So that's what makes, I think, the whole project phase really special. That you really have to learn how to work with so many different tracks and different personalities to create something that is actually working in the end. Another one that was really interesting is Jobzilla, which is a cover letter creator. It sounds very simple, but it was a very complex project where they analyze thousands of cover letters in a learned model, and they use that so that you're able to by giving some text prompts and some other parameters, generate cover letters which are really, really perfect for the job applications that you want to apply to. And it's a tool, it's online, and you can actually use it. It's really an interesting and impressive achievement. Another one, newcomer, it's also an app for people who are just arriving in Berlin and they just want to figure out how to navigate the bureaucracy of Germany and how to and they make that into a game, and you can understand, okay, how do I apply for visas and how do I apply for the Meldung, which steps do I have to take? And they really make that really like, there's even like, they even develop a little game within the app that you can actually play to see, okay, I'm going to go through the challenges of the city. So was really an interesting app. But those are not just some examples. We had also an app which was about analyzing image analysis of chest X-rays to detect COVID-19 infection. We had another app which allowed you to search for the best places, the best beaches and places to go for a swim with lots of information about these places. We had an app which allowed you to choose the best wine to pair with your budget and your taste and your food. One which was an exchange platform for artists where they could exchange equipment and other materials. A beautiful application called Birds AI, where it was almost a history telling application with the visualization of the deforestation in the Amazon. And we had Stress Tracker, which is an app to track your stress. And we had others as well that I didn't put it here, but you can watch this event, which was our final presentation event. It's a very long event, but you can skip to the areas that you're most interested in. Just go into our TechLabs homepage. You can find our YouTube channel, and you can see this event over there with all the projects that were presented and also the students presenting the project. So it's really an interesting event if you want to check it out. I totally recommend it. So this is just some samples. We had also really amazing projects the other semesters. So just an idea of what you can develop. And these people who did these projects, they basically started from scratch. So they didn't know anything when they started the program, and in the end, they were able to develop some applications, some interesting projects and websites. All right, so what it takes to complete the program. Basically, as I've been mentioning now, is that you do not need any previous coding knowledge, except of course for the AI track, and I will come a bit more detail about that later, but there's no previous knowledge necessary, which means that this is a program aimed for complete beginners. What we need from you is commitment. I think that's really important. Some semesters ago, we used to say that you need about 5 hours a week commitment, but we received a lot of comments from past students saying that this is not really realistic. Also because each person takes online learning very differently from each other. So we increase this value from 10 to 15 hours a week, which is very average, but it can be that you take less, it can be that you take more, but keep in mind that commitment is very important and you should be aware of that when joining the program. And also part of TechLabs is of course community, and we expect you to engage and participate in events and also participate. We have our main communication channel is a Slack workspace. We expect you to be present, to be communicative, and to be participating. And this semester, hopefully also participating in all the offline events that we organize. So this is what it takes to complete the TechLabs program. Excuse me. So let's talk a little bit about the tracks that we have. We have 4 tracks: web development, UX design, data science, and AI. So what it is all about, which one is which. So I'm just going to go through each one of them very briefly, just to explain more or less what it is about. So data science, understand complex data; AI, experience machine learning; web development, develop websites and apps; and user experience design, create positive experiences. So one by one. So data science. So what is data science? Data science is this interdisciplinary field. It uses scientific methods, processes, algorithms, and systems, and tries to extract knowledge and insights from many structural and unstructured data, basically. So data science is very closely related to data mining, machine learning, big data. Is this concept to unify statistics, data analysis, and the related methods, because it wants to understand and analyze actual phenomena with data. So basically, it's composed of 3 parts. You have here machine learning, which is basically this extraction from patterns from a data set and the effect on a target variable. For example, machine learning, you have classification, which is, for example, customers who are about to cancel, yes or no, or spend or no spend, or danger to illnesses or no danger. You can also do regression, for example. You can see the share prices or the sales in the future, for example. And there's many types of machine learning that you can talk about. Another part of data science is coding. You're going to learn a lot about basic programming, about data import, data exploration, visualization, data cleaning and preparation, modeling. During this program, you're going to be using Python all the time. So it's a very nice and simple language for beginners as well, but it's really powerful as well to do all of that. And I think a big part of data science that is really important is the expertise, so the domain knowledge that we call, which is what you bring to data science, which is your knowledge about business management, healthcare, economic, biology, psychology, anywhere that you come from, you can actually use this knowledge together with machine learning and coding to apply to data science, to basically study data. So there's several applications for data science. For example, in e-commerce, you can use data science to identify customers, to recommend products, to analyze reviews. In manufacturing, you could predict potential problems in manufacturing. You can monitor systems. You could use data science to automate manufacturing units or to detect anomalies in production. Banking is a big topic within data science. For example, fraud detection is really big. Credit risk modeling or customer lifetime value. So there's a lot of fields in banking and security in general that you can apply data science to. So healthcare, which includes medical imaging analysis, like the ChestX project that we just showed, or drug discovery, bioinformatics, virtual assistants. All of this can also use data science. In transport, self-driving cars, enhanced driving experience, or car monitoring systems, etc. Finance is another topic that is really important, which is all about customer segmentation, strategic decision making, or risk analysis, etc. So there's a lot of applications of data science because it's such a wide open field, especially because of the domain knowledge that you can bring into it. So this is a data science. If you are interested in data science, you probably know a bit about it already. So another track that we have is artificial intelligence, where you experience machine learning. So artificial intelligence is very complex, and it's all about, when you're learning artificial intelligence, you're basically doing this recap about machine learning. That's why the knowledge of data science is quite important for artificial intelligence, because it brings a lot to the table. You're going to do a little bit of practical deep learning, and you're going to learn a lot about algorithms theory during learning. And use cases of data science, artificial intelligence, you probably already know about is, for example, image recognition, so autonomous driving or robotics, or natural language processing, NLP, which is something that is very in vogue nowadays. Social media sentiment analysis, for example, voice recognition system. So Siri is all about AI as well. Content creation, also together with NLP, nowadays you have this GPT-3, which is basically writing whole articles and whole books for you, creating anonymous faces that don't exist. And there's so many big companies already using artificial intelligence to improve their business as well. So during the program, you're going to do a little bit of Python and machine learning recap. So you're going to answer this question. So what do I need for practical deep learning? There's going to be a lot of Python basics. You're going to go much deeper into NumPy, Matplotlib, and learn about supervised and unsupervised learning, as well as deep learning. Then you're going to go into this practical deep learning, where you're going to learn how to train neural networks. So there's a lot of involved on that. And later, you're going to go into algorithm theory. So after learning the practical part of it, you're actually going to do and understand how neural networks work, which is a very important aspect of it. So some examples that you probably know about, object detection. So all of this is done by training models and having these models being used by AI. Neuro style transfer, when you have, for example, two pictures of different style, and then by combining them, you can actually convert those styles. Or something that is very big. So this OpenAI, this GPT-3, you have this image GPT, which is this generative pre-training of images, where you actually give a little bit of, give an input and let the computer complete the input for you. That's quite powerful as well. And now one thing that I mentioned is basically this text GPT, which is you give a little bit of a text and basically have the computer write the text for you. Because of this pre-training that the computer did by reading so many other texts, you can actually generate a really convincing text on top of a single sentence. So artificial intelligence is not my field. Maybe that's why I'm not really being able to explain it really well, but it's a really exciting and contemporary topic. Web development, this is my field. Actually, I'm a web developer. So that's where you learn how to develop websites and apps. So web development, it's quite complex as well, because it touches on so many areas. There is a lot of tools that you have to learn in order to do web development. And between these tools, the most important is, of course, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And from there, you kind of go down into frameworks like React or Vue or Angular, and then Node.js for the backend, etc. And there is these two parts of web development: is the front end and the back end. So what is it all about? So it's all about the development of digital products. So when you talk about the front end and the back end, this is the picture that we all love in web development, which shows kind of what it is all about. The front end is basically the part where the user interacts with your application, where everything has to be nice and reactive and beautiful and fluffy, just like the little bear in the picture. And that's where HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the big players. But then, of course, you have the back end, which is the data access layer of the application, is what happens behind the scenes so that you can have so that you can use your app. And this is all in the world of servers, Node.js, databases. In this program, you're going to learn a little bit about MongoDB, Express, which is a Node.js server framework, and is all done a lot in the terminal. So you're going to do a lot of command line, and that's kind of the That's it, the ugly part of web development. But it's not ugly at all. It's really, really interesting. When you learn web development, you can, of course, develop apps and websites by using React, which is or Vue, or Angular, which is a reactive framework. By learning JavaScript, you unleash the power of Electron, which is basically using Node.js to develop desktop applications, which can be used in any operation system. So, for example, Slack is a Electron app, or if you know Skype or VS Code or Figma, those are all JavaScript-based applications which you can actually install into your computer. And of course, you can use that also within machines. So there's lots of frameworks for you to develop machine interactions. Node.js is the language for that, which is also JavaScript that you use to interact with machines. So that was web development. And the last one, UX design, user experience design, is where you create positive experiences. And this is also something that is very in vogue nowadays. There's a lot of people getting into UX design because it's so important for everything we do online and offline. So if you have your history with, if you are of a certain age, you probably used a lot of remote controls in the past that were quite crazy. And until today, you have these crazy remote controls. And UX is all about how you interact with these controls and how these controls are done to serve you best for what you want to do. And this is kind of an interesting comparison of what you actually need in a remote control and what actually people try to pack into remote control. So that's kind of this difference between what the user actually needs and wants and kind of would be the best, most useful for them, and what we think that they need. And this difference is what you have to work on when you're dealing with UX design. So UX design, what is it? It's basically it's basically the idea of developing products that ensure the optimal user experience from the moment that you purchase this product to the moment that you dispose of this product. You have to understand who is the target user, and you have to understand what is the problems of this target users and how these problems can be solved. So it's very on a more general level. It's kind of an overview from the top. And you also, by understanding this very deeply, you also ensure that the system, it meets the needs and requirements of the user. The user is basically the center point of UX design. So it's all about combining technical constraints with the user needs and the business goals, and all of that compose what you need to understand about UX design. Some things that are really important. So empathy is very crucial for good UX. You have to really have an understanding so deeply of a user, but not judgment, but really understanding of your user so that you can actually generate good UX. UX is not only relevant for software, you can use UX for hardware as well. It's really a wide range of applications. And a good UX can really increase the product's worth and can be a massive competitive advantage. You probably know about apps that you use that really feel natural to use and feel good to use versus apps that you use once or twice and you don't want to touch them again because they are not really that well designed. And it's not only about the design that you see, but it's actually about the intrinsic design that is within the application. And it's also about making everything accessible to everybody. So this is UX design. And these are our 4 tracks. All right, so now I pass on to Anna, so she will explain the last part of this presentation, which is how you apply it to our program. Anna?
Exactly, yeah, cool. So to give a break to Daniel. Okay, so I mean, this is probably also one of the most kind of interesting parts for you now, right? Everybody wants to know how to apply and what to expect. So as mentioned, applications start tomorrow. And so these are just overview of some key dates to keep in mind. Deadline 26th of September, results on 3rd, and then 5th, whoever is accepted, we want to see you on the 5th in the welcome event. Okay. So what actually is in the application form, right? What are we actually asking you to fill in? So we always start with some basic personal info. There's like, name and gender, age and stuff like that, demographics. Then we ask you about some educational background and your current occupation, about some previous online learning experience. And then actually the most important part is this motivation part. this is how we actually kind of decide who are we accepting and who not. There will be several questions there, kind of like about your motivation, what motivates you to join the TechLabs, what do you expect from the track you're applying for, and so on. And yeah, there are like kind of like open questions that have like, we expect like a proper text, you know, not just like one sentence like, oh, I like, I don't know, buildwebsites.com, like, and so on. It's like we need like a proper explanation, what motivates you, what do you want to do with those new skills, and stuff like that. And then at the end, of course, we also check your availability. Like, so as we mentioned, TechLabs Berlin is actually only open to students in Berlin. This is not for students who are living in, I don't know, Hamburg or England or anywhere else, because we have locations also operating on those cities. So only people who are living in Berlin can apply for TechLabs in Berlin. And because there will be also in-person events where we actually also want to see you to build a community and to kind of like connect with everyone. So yeah, so that's why like there's some questions about your availability and so on. Okay, and then how to actually apply. So as tomorrow, when you wake up, when you're ready, visit the techlabs.org. Up there in the corner, you will see apply now. And when you click there, you will have to select Germany and then Berlin, right? There will be like drop-down menus, and just fill the application form. You will get the confirmation email. So check your, again, spam. And if you got the application, if you get the confirmation email, it means, yeah, you are successfully applied. If you didn't get anything, you cannot find it in any of your folders and subfolders of your email, then, you know, send it again. Maybe something went wrong with the type form. Cool. Okay, cool. So that's kind of overview. So we will open up, of course, first we will answer some questions that you actually already have written us down in the, like in your registration forms. And then we will also kind of later open up now for the questions. So one of the questions was also about like how the semester looks like, the events and what's going on. So this is kind of like a visual representation of it. And not all the weeks are here, as you can see, like some stuff are a bit like densely like put in so that we can actually fit everything in the one screen. The blue means kind of events, right? So not every Tuesday, but most of the Tuesdays there are events. So the first one being the welcome event. Then very important, the hatching phase. I mean, here it looks like it's only 1 week, but I wrote like 1 week and second week. So it's 2 weeks long hatching phase. And very important then on 20th, when it finishes, it's the last date of the hatching phase. So whoever does not pass this 10 hours requirement, it's actually, you cannot continue the program. So this is like the first cutoff point where every student who cannot finish 10 hours in 2 weeks will actually be like removed from the program. So then like some Saturdays, as we mentioned, we have also some different workshops. So like one of those is actually the Git workshop. It's actually open for all tracks, even though like at first it might seem that UX maybe doesn't need a Git workshop, but we actually offer these workshops for all the tracks. Then, of course, between week 3 and week 8, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of different events. For example, we are planning like a panel talk with former alumni so that they can kind of like tell you their story, what happened like with them, how did they apply and how did they like TechLabs, and give you some tips and tricks how to like go through the semester successfully. So many different internal events, of course, as well. But in week 8, what is like very important is like the second cutoff point. So this is actually the week when you will be presenting your project ideas. And then in this week, like not every student needs to present an idea, but usually we get maybe 20 to 30 project ideas. And then out of these ideas, around 10, 12 projects are like selected. But every student needs to choose in which project you want to work in. So if you do not submit your preference, it means that you cannot continue with the program because you have no team to be in, right? But in this same moment, when you are submitting your project preference, we're also checking your progress in your learning track. So if you do not have at least 75% of your learning track finished by then you will also be like removed from the program. So you need both. You need to submit your preference and have 75% of your learning track finished to be able to actually successfully enter the project phase. Okay, and then of course, week 9, this is when the project phase has started. The big event is, for example, the workshop weekend, which is like 2 days long, not like 2 full days, but like each day, like Saturday and Sunday, we have around 4 hours in the middle of the day with different workshops. So far it was always online, but this time it's going to be first time in person. And then I mentioned already before, between 20th of December and 4th of January, we'll have a winter break, 2 weeks long, and come back in week, well, actually in week 12, we're coming back. But the big thing that's happening in week 13 is this mid-project presentation. Yeah. And then finally, week 16, final presentation and final deliverables. So this is kind of like a bit how the semester overview will look like. Okay, Daniel, maybe you want to explain this one.
All right, yeah, this is basically, there's a lot of questions about what is exactly the content of TechLabs. It's we can explain a little bit about here. So you're going to be using a platform called Educated, which as soon as you register on Educated, you're going to be ask some questions, and then those questions will lead you to a personalized track. And those questions basically about what kind of experience do you have already with some parts of the track, and your background, etc., so that we can know, for example, if you're applying for web development, you know a lot of HTML, but you don't know JavaScript, so you can say that, so you can jump the HTML lessons, for example. So this is all happening as soon as you enter Educated, and when you get into Educated, what you're going to see your learning paths, which in this case here you can see Web Development 1, and within each one of these learning paths you have the learning materials. And this learning materials is basically a sequence of materials that we selected, the curriculum team selected, and it kind of creates this sequence that you can follow to learn the track. You can see you have the progress, you have the hours, and this time and this progress is what we use during the hatching phase and during the whole program to measure your progress through the track. And it's by watching each one of the lessons and going through the materials that you can start progressing within your track. In terms of content, as we said, is a self-learning track, so it's a self-paced, so you learn on your own time and in your own way. But the way that we do it is that we do not teach the classes, but we collect and we create a curriculum on top of contents that we curate for you in a sequence or in a curriculum, let's say. So, for example, when you talk about DS, it takes a lot of content from Harvard CS50, a lot of stuff from Coursera, we have also our own prepared Notion notebooks that you can follow through with some lessons. There's a lot of content from YouTube, but it's not really random content, but it's really stuff that we put in an order that we find that the curriculum team from TechLabs Global found the most interesting for you to learn a certain track. AI uses a lot of content from Fast AI, Coursera. Also, we have our own prepared Notion notebooks. There's a lot of stuff from university courses, Stanford, Toronto, MIT, and of course, YouTube content. Web development, we use the course from Udemy, Harvard CS50, as well as the notebooks and YouTube. And UX is Coursera, notebooks, YouTube, and Udemy. It's worth mentioning here that you, as much as TechLabs itself is a non-profit organization, we offer our volunteer work, of course, for no cost. Some of these courses, they do have some costs. It's not going to be anything more than 10 to 20 euros. I think that the only ones where you have to invest something is web development and UX. I think all the other ones are completely 100% free. But this, keep in mind that there is some cost, and of course you can also get refunded for this course because we offer refunds, and because it's supposed to be TechLabs is supposed to be a completely non-profit and free program. So even though you have to invest in the beginning, by the end of the program, you can always ask for a refund, and we can TechLabs can provide a refund for you. But it's basically 10 to 20 euros maximum for one course. Yeah, so then we come to the questions that you submitted already. We're going to go one by one, and then after that, we're going to open for everybody to ask questions if they want live. So I'm just going to go through the first question, and then Anna, you go to the second one. So basically, what are the theoretical prerequisites for the AI course? That was one of the questions we got. So there is, during the application form, there is going to be a little challenge for you to complete if you're applying for the AI course. So you have to submit a little challenge, which is basically submitting a Jupyter notebook with some data sets that you're going to train. So it's a set challenge that you just have to develop that to show that you know at least a little bit about the topic. So that's kind of the prerequisite. You're going to see it as you do the application form.
Okay, so I have zero tech background. Can I still join? So yes, this is valid for UX, web development, and data science. So these three courses are fully like beginner oriented, and you can join them even if you have no tech background.
Are all the classes online? Yeah, I already answered that. This is actually a question that came through, but you already know lots of events are online. And I saw a question now in the chat. Everything is in English, 100%. And of course, we have some events which are going to be offline.
How many people in average participated in the previous batches? So the last 2 semesters, we kind of took in around 150 students. And the first semester when we started, I think it was a bit less. I think it was like 60 to 80 students.
60, yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
And this semester, we're planning to take about 120 students. Yeah. How many people join in each track? So usually we have the very popular tracks, which are data science and web development. And then next is UX, and the last one, because it's harder to get into, is AI. So let's say the most popular ones get 40 people more or less, and then we have 30 in another one. And then we have between 10 to 15 in the AI course.
What are the background of the mentors and track leads? So all the mentor and track leads are actually like working in the field. They're professionals. In your, like if you're track lead, if you're in web development, your track leads will actually be coming from the web development background. And some are more experienced, and then some are like less experienced, which are kind of like which they also join TechLabs to volunteer and to learn as well. But there is always a very like very skilled professionals that are actually guiding you through. And the same actually goes for mentors as well.
Are you offering in-person events? Yes. I think this question we should have taken out, but the same as before, some of the events are going to be in person.
Is it really free, and how? So we also mentioned it a bit. So it is really free. So nothing that we do as volunteers, there is no charge for this. We actually do invest our free time in it. We run it as volunteers, and we don't ask any monetary like compensation for it back. The only thing that Daniel already mentioned, 2 of our tracks still have, like before actually more, like I think 3 or 4 our tracks had paid materials, but we are updating our tracks every year, like putting new content, up-to-date content, and like really searching for completely free content. But like this semester, 2 of our tracks, I think like UX and web development, are still depending on some content that is paid, which for example, Udemy course or so. And then of course, this is something that like student covers. And as you know, probably if you ever did any kind of Udemy course before, usually the price of that course is like around 10 to 20 euro. There are some ways how to really pay less, and we will actually explain that also, like how you can pay 10 euro instead of 20 or something like that. Yes, and then of course, any student that wants to study, wants to join, but doesn't have this, cannot cover this fee by yourself, you can apply for a refund that we will refund. And how we can actually do this is because we are obviously like always trying to partner with different companies that will be our like sponsors, right? So that the TechLabs can still move on and continue providing this education.
All right, would a full-time job only free in the evenings, hours, or weekends be a hindrance? No, I think it's up to you to understand how much time can you invest in the program. Of course, there is some investment that you have to do, but most of our students, they have full-time jobs. It's very, let's say about 60 to 70%, they do manage to work it out having a full-time jobs. We have, of course, students. We have, of course, people who are not having jobs at the moment, but it's not a problem. When I participated in TechLabs back then, when I was a student in the summer term 2020, I had a full-time job at the time, and it was totally fine as long as you commit the time that is needed for that. It's up to you.
Okay, what would be the best way to prepare for the course? So I mean, of course, like we don't, yeah, I mean, we don't ask for any technical or any kind of like previous experience. But of course, if you already have, like, if you already did some online course, be like if you're applying for web development and you already know some HTML or CSS or something like that, of course, it's going to help you, right? You will like be faster in your learning and so on. But that definitely does not mean that if you never did it, that you will not be able to follow up and so on. Yeah, so the best way to prepare for the course is really to kind of set the time for it. You have to maybe like just plan your next like 3-4 months and really like dedicate some time in the evenings or whenever you have time. And so like set your mind that you will be busy for the next few weeks, for the next few months.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no,
My bad. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. All right, yeah. There you go. Okay. You can see, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Would you offer mentorship, career advice, counseling as well? We do have some workshops towards the end. When it comes to the end of the project phase, there was last semester workshop about CVs and how to best prepare your CV and your portfolio for job applications. This semester, we also want to get some people who have some experience into hiring, as well as experience with startups, to come and give us some talks and some tips, etc. So yes, there will be some. It's not going to be a one-on-one, but there is some events to cover that.
Could the students from past semester who failed to complete the track reapply? Yes, you can, of course, as long as, like, it's always about the time commitment, right? So it doesn't matter if you failed before, because I mean, things can happen. You might fail because you got a new job and then suddenly you were overwhelmed with everything and you didn't have time to focus anymore on the course and so on. So like everybody is welcome to reapply, but just again, make sure you have time for it.
And what do you look for in an applicant? Motivation. I think that's number one. We need motivated students, and we need people who are willing to put in the effort. It's not an easy program, and also needs a lot of commitment. We need people who are committed, we feel that by the way that they present themselves within the application form, that they are willing to commit and they are motivated enough. I think that's kind of the most important, I would say. And I think we can go through there are some questions in the chat that I would like to address. I think one of them is from, I think it was from Eric. No, sorry, it was before that, from Rafael Owens. The reason why we restrict the entrance, he asked about people who are not from Berlin, if the thing is online. And the point is that it's not supposed to be online. I think that the idea is that it's an offline course. It started as an offline thing. It's just online now because of COVID. And because we are starting to plan some offline events, we want people to be able to participate. So if you are in another city, it doesn't make sense because you cannot come to the offline events. So that's why we restrict them for people who are in Berlin. We do have the Coder Home. I'm not sure how it is organized, but there's also other locations, and all the locations, they also have the same requirement that people from the city apply. Then there was another question, I think, from Eric, asking about the goal of the program is more for people to get a tech job in the field, or for tech enthusiasts to learn to work on their own projects. This is up to you, I would say. We had cases of people who participated in a program and got a job in the field. One of them is even one of our track leads, for example, Ashnayu. He switched careers after joining TechLabs, and he got a job as a web developer. It happens. It depends on what your goals are and how much effort you're wanting to put into it. But do keep in mind that for us, TechLabs is an introductory course. So that means that is not similar to bigger boot camps where you actually come out of it ready for the market. You will be ready for the market if you put an extra effort on it. But actually, what our goal is to really give you an introduction and guide you and give you the way for you to move forward in another career or in another field. So keep that in mind. It's not a certain thing that you're going to have a job in a field after that, but it really depends on how much effort you want to put into it. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so there's a next question saying, is it possible to apply for more than one track? It is not possible. So you can only apply for one track.
All right, there's another one from Claire. Application be saved and complete over the course of a few days. I would say no. If you want to do that, I would say just go through the application form, check the questions, copy paste somewhere, write the way you want, and then in the end, just go back and apply for it. I don't think you can start and then continue the application, so don't do that. Okay, so if anybody has any other questions, just you can just start talking. I think it could be.
I don't know. I guess there was one. Is TechLabs every semester? Will it take place next spring, summer? So yes, we have 2 semesters per year, spring, like summer and winter. So the winter is starting now, like October, and the summer usually starts around, I think, March or April, something like that. Yeah.
There's one very interesting question from Konstantin, which is, would there be a priority given to maybe younger or unemployed people? It all depends as well. I think that is very subjective. We do, for example, if you are a computer science student in a university and wants to do the web development course, and there is next to you someone who is unemployed or just trying to change careers who have no background, I think this person would have priority on top of the computer science student. Of course, we want to give priority to people who do not have the means to do things, to learn the tracks on their own. And unemployed people and younger people, for sure, they're always a priority. They're always people that are motivated enough in order to join. And yes, basic laptop is enough. Don't worry about the power of your laptop. That should work fine. Does anybody have questions? I might have skipped some questions on the chat. If you have more questions, you can just start talking.
Yeah, it would be also cool to see your faces, or
exactly.
At least hear your voice. So
hear the voices, yeah. We
don't
talk
be
too
shy.
much.
I have a question. Do you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Hi, Marcel.
Do we learn agile frameworks like Scrum or something like this, or is it just only about technology?
Yeah, no, there's no, this is not part of the curriculum. What happens is that during the project phase, when it comes to the project phase, there is one big challenge that that we had every semester, which is management, right? So you have to come into a project with, I don't know, 4 or 5 different people from different tracks and different walks of life that have never met together, have to make them work together into a project. And Agile is just one of the tools in the arsenal that you can use in order to organize the project and organize the project phase and how the whole thing runs. I think that one thing that we noticed last semester that was lacking is introduction into how to manage a project. And this semester, we want to add that to one of our sessions to really kind of give some background on how would you go about managing a team of people and managing work to be done. And I think part of that could be an introduction into Agile, introduction into Scrum, and all of these other methodologies. But this is just one of the tools. And I think that is, in the end, is up to the students to organize themselves and kind of come up with how they want to organize their work better. But it's not part of the curriculum, no.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you so much for your presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, you do.
Okay, yes. You said something regarding priority of applicants. In that case, would you advise a student who has a computer science background to still apply, given that the chances of him being selected is slim?
It's not completely slim.
It depends.
No, I mean, or maybe Daniel, you go. You always have a better.
No, I mean, it really depends in a way. I think that, for example, if you are, I don't know, it really depends on what do you want to do and what is the motivation. Why do you think that TechLabs as a beginner program is going to help you? In which way is it going to help you, and why you cannot have what TechLabs offer within your university students and you can actually make a case for that, I would say, yeah, sure, why not? I think you should definitely, if you feel like doing it and you feel that you have a motivation enough to do it, apply it. I don't think that there's no discrimination based on background. We usually start all our, when we are evaluating all the applications, we start by looking at the motivation first. And then later we separate those and then we go through, okay, the backgrounds, and then we can start to see, because in the end we have to select, I don't know, one third or 1/4 of the people who applied. And we have to do some decisions, and some of these are going to be part of the decisions or not. But if there were cases that motivation was so strong and so interesting the way that they presented themselves that the background didn't really make any difference. So we are open for any type of background.
Okay, thank you.
No problem, John.
I have another question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you, for instance, use Udemy courses. Is that right?
Yes. One of our some of our tracks, they do use a specific Udemy course, but the way that we organize is that we kind of extract some of the lessons from this course and put them within together with all the material that we have prepared as well. So it's kind of it's part of the curriculum, but it's not the only part of the curriculum.
Okay, that's interesting, because I just watched a few courses, web development Udemy courses, and I was not really satisfied with it. To be honest.
And that's what is interesting, I think, about TechLabs, is that anyone can go online and do a Udemy course, right? Like more or less what you did.
Yes.
And the difference is that what we provide with TechLabs is not only the content, but is actually the whole support network around when you're learning. So you have 2 months that you're learning, but we have track leads which are doing office hours, which are doing challenges, which are kind of participating in the chat. You can ask questions. You have all your track colleagues which are also learning with you that you can also participate. We have all the events happening together that help you kind of move forward. So there's a whole set of, let's say, support around you doing a course that you wouldn't have by doing it on your own. I think that's kind of the main difference, because in the end you could also do because the material that we offer is nothing exclusive from TechLabs. You could also do the material on your own, alone at home, but it wouldn't be the same experience as participating within a group of people doing the same thing together with the support that we provide as well. So that's kind of the idea of TechLabs in a way.
Okay, thank you. And I have another question, if anyone doesn't have any.
Go for it.
Are you still looking for volunteers in your? Yeah, because the course is very. I love it the way, you know, because it's you don't pay anything and you use your free time, and I think that's, yeah, it's a big thing. You know, boot camps are so expensive, and for someone who wants to change his career, you know, and it's difficult to pay these kind of expensive courses. So that's what I wanted to know. You're still looking for volunteers in your team. So
yeah, I think always. I think that we are ever growing kind of. Our team is never really the same always, because people come and go, because it's a volunteer based. And people can only give the amount of time that they have. You know, it's not like everybody's giving 8 hours a day to the TechLabs. So it's really an interesting set of a group of people. We're always looking for more people who are interested to help out, for sure.
So is it possible just to be a participant in a web development course, for instance, and volunteer and support your work?
No, I think that what we did like some semester ago that didn't really work. That the person was both a student and a volunteer. That doesn't really work. What we expect is that either you're a student or you're a volunteer. So if you want to study and then after that come as a volunteer, we're more than welcome, but not 2 of them together. It doesn't really work.
Okay, thank you.
It is just because like the time commitment for both is too much. Like, you know, it is not possible to invest a lot of time in studying and being a student, and also to provide enough time then for volunteering. And it gets a bit tricky, because as a student, you actually then see also like what's happening in the background, and it gets kind of like messy if you're both in the same time.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. For the data science course, is this, like you said, like at the beginning, the first 2 weeks are 10 hours of commitment, or, but then basically it's like every week 10 hours. Is this for the whole period of the course, or how's the average? Like probably for some people it's more, for some people it's less, right? But for your experience being how much time we really need, like weekly, just because like if you work full time and then
I would say, like you said, it's really difficult to say. We used to say that in the beginning, we used to, like some semester ago, we used to say 5 hours a week, but then we had many people complaining, saying, hey, 5 hours a week is not realistic. But lots of people were just fine with 5 hours a week. So it really depends on how you are dealing with the whole learning experience online, etc. So it's really hard to say. We say 10 to 15 hours to be as more general as possible. So we expect you to at least be able to say, okay, if I cannot learn with 5 hours a week, I have time to do it within 10 hours a week. You know, so it's hard to say. But the idea is that this time is to be available until the end of the course, until the end of the project phase even.
So you'd say in average 10 to 15 hours a week?
I would say so.
Average. Just for me to have an idea.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
But it also really depends, because some people will face with online learning for the first time, and those people will probably need more, right? Because they're not used to like that kind of format. But if you are like already used to, and you already did some online courses, and you know how like much you need like a focus time, then you may be just a faster learner and you will need more.
No, yeah, the question is just literally just the average in
definitely
counting on the amount of information you have per week, so if
definitely
it's just like if I know myself how I can learn, but I don't know how much information you give per week, so that's just to have an idea. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so maybe
sorry. What about the ownership of the final project? I can imagine that the student can get pretty hyped for what they are doing, and maybe they want to keep going and pursue it and make it become a real product. Is then owned by TechLab, or they are free to keep going into program?
No, it's all yours. I think that we do require during the project phase that you use, for example, our own organization as a repository owner on GitHub, etc. But after that, you can just fork it and do whatever you want with that. We have no ownership on anything that you do on TechLabs. Okay, so let's just open one more question, and then we have to finish up because it's already 8:45. And if anyone else has one question, otherwise we just end up here. And
hi, I do have one question.
Yes.
I asked if the UX design track require design skills, or is it more of a focus on the UX research skills?
Yeah, this is interesting because what ends up happening with all the UX courses that I know is that people, the UX designers end up doing also UI design, which is not ideal, but it happens also within TechLabs because we have web developers, data scientists, AI, and then you have UX designers. And what ends up happening is that the UX kind of have a very big contribution on how the whole thing looks in the end.
Sure.
We try to always push it to be not that way, so that everybody has a hand on design, because we believe that is not the role of the UX designer to design the UI. But of course, what you're going to learn is more the theoretical part, but of course you will be more than welcome to use your design skills as well during the project phase, but also push all of your project mates to also do some design. It's also part of it.
Okay, so it's more of analyzing the data of the users.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, so I think we're going to wrap up, right, Anna?
Exactly. So maybe I was already typing to Lana, but I can also say, Shiva, just to confirm, so 10 hours of learning per week plus weekly session workshops. So yeah, it's basically like that. And the hatching phase will actually show you, if you can do it or not, right? That's the first 2 weeks where you actually see if you can invest 10 hours of learning plus sessions and so on.
Cool. So just as a curiosity, the poll that you answered in the beginning of the session, we have actually the most popular track is data science, with 46% of people wanting to apply for data science. Next is web development, 25%, followed by AI, which is very surprising, 13%, and UX, 8%. And 8% of people have no idea yet what to apply as they answer the track. I hope now they have some idea. And we hope, and the last question, Ipa, from Sahil, no, you have to watch the session. We hope you watch the info session before you apply. But anyway, thank you so much for coming tonight. And we really hope to see your application tomorrow or during the next 2 weeks. And if you know of anyone that might also benefit from applying, please just forward. We'll be really happy to receive as many applications as possible. And we really hope to see you there next semester or in 3 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. So then good luck, everyone, and have a great evening.
All right.
Ciao.
See you.
So thank you.
Bye-bye.